Two business partners, Mr. Evans and Mrs. Fraser, share profits in the ratio 5-6. The profits for this year were $26,000. Calculate Mr. Evans' share. Now, in order for us to calculate Mr. Evans' share, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to determine what is one equal part. Now, one equal part is going to be 26,400 divided by the sum of the equal parts, which is 5 plus 6. And 5 plus 6 is going to be, 5 plus 6 is definitely 11. So we have 26,400 divided by 11, and that's going to give us 2,400. So one equal part is 2,400. But Mr. Evans' share accounts for 5 equal parts. And so since we know that one equal part is 2,400, in order to figure out Mr. Evans' share, which is 5 equal parts, we're going to say 2,500 divided by 5. I mean, not divided. 2,400 multiplied by 5, which is going to be 12,000. And so Mr. Evans' share is 12,000. How do we get that? We multiplied one equal part, which is 2,400 by 5 to give us $12,000. And that's Mr. Evans' share. Next, it says last year, Mrs. Fraser received 8,400 as her share. Calculate the total profits for last year. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to determine what is one equal part. Now, one equal part is going to be 8,400 divided by 6. Now, why do we divide by 6? We divide by 6 because they tell us that Mrs. Fraser's share is 8,400. And Mrs. Fraser's share is 6 equal parts. All right, so her share accounts for 6 equal parts. And so if she got 8,400, that is actually 6 equal parts. But we only want one equal part. So we want to divide 8,400 by 6. So 8,400 divided by 6 is going to give us 1,400. And so that's one equal part. But we want the total profits, which is going to be how much Mr. Evans made and Mrs. Fraser made. And so the total profit is going to be one equal part, which is 1,400, multiplied by the sum of the equal parts, which is 5 plus 6. And so 5 plus 6 is definitely 11. 5 plus 6 is definitely 11. And when you take 1,400 and multiply it by 11, you get 15,400. And that is the total profits for, last year. If Mrs. Fraser received 8,400 as a share. So the answer is 15,400. Next, it says with renovations to the business, Mr. Evans and Mrs. Fraser's investments change to 17,500 and 22,500 respectively. Calculate the ratio of investments in simplest form. And so we have Mr. Evans, which is 17,500, and Mrs. Fraser's, which is 22,500. And we have been just like that. Now we have to simplify this. So we have to divide both of these by 100. And so when we divide 17,500 by 100, we get 175. And when we divide 22,500 by 100, we get 225. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide both of these by 5. When we divide both of them by 5, we get 35 and 45. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide 35 and 45 by 5 again, because both of these numbers can be divided by 5. So 35 divided by 5 is definitely 7. And 45 divided by 5 is definitely 9. And so that means that the ratio of their investments in simplest form is 7-9. And so that means that the answer to this question is 7-9.